All right, Shalom family, Shalom. Before I start, I want to give all praises, all glory, and all honors to our power, Yahawah Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakodash. Long live the King. I want to give a salutation to all you brothers out there that's pushing the truth, that's pushing the gospel of the kingdom to the four winds in the face of this devil that's coming down on us. I want to give shalom and salutations to all y'all brothers out there. I want to give shalom to y'all sisters out there that's listening, to the children out there that's learning and being diligent in your faith and in the hope that is Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, our King, and staying true to the faith, sticking close to your men, you children, sticking close to the teachings of your parents, in all order. I want to give a shalom to all y'all. All right, so we're in that time right now. We're in the time of the wars and rumors of wars. And we was told that this is going to take place and that this is going to happen. I'm gonna start off with the scripture in Matthew. Book of Matthew, chapter 24. I'm gonna start at verse 3, and this thing is kicking off, and it's really singing at this point. It's really singing right now. The Most High Spirit is moving through this place. It is moving through this place, and I'm gonna get another scripture right after this. But I'm gonna start off with Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, tell us when shall these things be? And what shall be the signs of thy coming, and of the end of the world? And Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. I'll cut it right there. And let me get another scripture real quick. Because we were told a long time ago that these prophecies would start kicking off. You know? And the funny thing is, ever since I was a child, and I was in church and all that, back when I was a Christian, and I would always hear, the talk of these are the last days, these are the last days, these are the last days. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that these right now, these are the last minutes. If those was the last days back then, these got to be the last hours, man. It's got to be the last hours because everything is happening as the scriptures say. This is the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 2. And Yahawah answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. That he may run that readeth it. For the vision is not yet for the vision is yet for an appointed time. But at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will surely come. It will not tarry. And here we are, man. These things are happening left and right, and you can't miss it. If you have not heard about this, what's been taking place right now, you've been living under a rock or something like that. You've been living under a rock, for how long? You know what I'm saying? And you know what we're seeing that's happening right now is basically, if you're looking at a play, we're at pretty much the last act, the final act of that play. Now we've seen this play go on since we was since we was kicked out of Jerusalem after Yahawah was killed and resurrected. We've been seeing this play out even since way back when we left the when we left the land of Egypt. All this has been going on, has been continual, and we have seen act after act after act where the Israelites went into this captivity and that captivity and that captivity, into finally coming into America. We have seen act after act. And now, because of what's been going on, and the script is now finally coming to its conclusion, that it's time for this thing to go out with a bang. A bang. And while I'm on that note, this spirit right now, let me get that real quick. Scripture just came to mind. This is let me see. This is Second Esdras. Second Esdras chapter 9, verse 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is that very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which we're seeing right now, protests all over the world, right? In Bolivia and Venezuela and Hong Kong, all these other places, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in this world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Alright. So let's start off with this. This is reporting from Rick Sanchez, and everything, like, everyone is on edge, man. Like, I'm waiting to hear from Russia, honestly. I'm waiting to hear to hear what Gog has to say, man, because they play a key role in this. They play a key role in all of this. This play has to have significant figures and actors in its play, and they all have their own specified roles. And Gog, which is Russia, has a significant role in this. And I'm waiting to hear what they got to say. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's go on. This is going to be a long video, by the way. So.
And hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. Tonight it seems the entire world is on edge as the United States has essentially taken out an Iranian official. As we all collectively hold our breaths, it seems the question to be asked is now, what is next? As we begin this special report, what I want to do is take you around and introduce you to some of the folks who we are going to be hearing from today. Ron Paul, former U.S. Congressman, is going to be joining us via satellite. We also have Scott Ritter, weapons inspector. very much known for his expertise in this particular region, who's going to be joining us as well. You see on the screen there as well from Tehran live is Mohammed Marandi, the University of Tehran professor, who's going to give us his perspective. And here on the set, we have with us Christy I, our Boom Boss host, to tell us what's going on with the markets as a result of this. Michelle Greenstein, who is taking us through what the global reactions are from all over the world. And then Max Blumenthal, the editor of The Gray Zone, is joining us here as well. And Jim Jatras, who is a former State Department official. All right, let's get started with Mohammed Marandi. He's at the University of Tehran. He has been following this story very carefully, as all of his countrymen are. Professor Marandi, thank you, sir, for taking time to join us. Let's start with this. What I think is maybe the most important question to ask you, since it's what we have been hearing here. The U.S. position from the left, from the right, from the media, is that Qasem Soleimani was a terrorist, responsible for the deaths of hundreds and hundreds of Americans. How would you describe him?
Well, Iranians see him as a hero. Not only was he a war hero during the invasion of Saddam Hussein, where the United States and the Europeans gave Saddam Hussein everything, including chemical weapons, and he was a key commander during that war, a volunteer. But also, after the United States began supporting extremist groups with the Saudis and Qatar and Turkey and Syria, and after tens of thousands of foreign fighters were brought into the country in 2013, he began to get involved to prevent the capital, Damascus, from falling into the hands of ISIS and other such groups like Al-Qaeda.
And let me tell you this much about this general. But his name is General Soleimani. So General Soleimani, he had an incredible significance in terms of what Americans like to call the war on terror, quote unquote. What General Soleimani actually did was he actually defeated terrorists. He actually defeated people known as the extremists known as Al Qaeda's, and before they morphed into ISIS, and even when they formed into ISIS, he stopped their advance in Syria. He stopped their advance in Qatar, and ultimately Iran. And he's seen as a national hero. He's seen as a national hero in Iran, and he's highly respected in Iraq. These Persians love this man. You know what I'm saying? Now, what's going on in the media right now? As Rick Sanchez just explained, the left and the right and the media, they're all saying that he was a terrorist himself, that he planned attacks on American soil and whatnot, so on and so forth. Notice that all these accusations have absolutely no weight, no evidence whatsoever. They don't explain. They don't show evidence of what they say. They just expect you to believe what they say. These are the same people that told us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction when there were no weapons of mass destruction, even though they were the ones that were propping him up as a former CIA asset. You can't forget. You can't deny or ignore that fact that he was an asset for the United States CIA, as well as Bin Laden. That's aside the point. But General Soleimani had a pivotal role in all of that, and he did an excellent job in his expertise to keep these terrorists at bay. Those who actually go in and are raping and robbing and killing, by the thousands and whatnot. But notice that these same terrorists don't ever go after Israel. These same terrorists don't ever actually go against United States interests. You know what I'm saying? So what's really going on here? The American government is lying, as they always do. So let's get a scripture right now. This is Book of Psalms, chapter 52, verse 1. Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of Yahawah endureth continually. But thy tongue deviseth mischiefs like a sharp razor, working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil even more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Selah. Thou lovest all devouring words, O thou deceitful tongue. Now you gotta look at all of it. You gotta look at what happened in Iraq, what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Libya, what happened all over the Middle East. Look at all of that and tell me that this was based off truth, that all these wars were based off truth. It wasn't. They overthrew governments. They overthrew government after government after government after government. Hell, just the lies off Gaddafi alone, and I was pissed off when I found out the truth about him. They said that oh, well, the Libyans are afraid of Gaddafi. The Libyans are being terrorized by Gaddafi. No, the Libyans loved Gaddafi. If you look at how Libya was before they overthrew Gaddafi and destabilized Libya, they loved Gaddafi. Gaddafi took very much care of his people, very well care of his people. But that's how the border of wickedness get down. You know what I'm saying? As it is written in Malachi chapter 1 verse 4.
They began to push these groups back there. And also in Iraq, when ISIS spilled over into that country, the Americans had destroyed Iraq because of the wars, the sanctions, and of course the invasion. It was a broken country and there was no real resistance in the face of ISIS. So right when Baghdad, the capital, was about to fall, he went to the capital and personally took charge of the defense of the capital, and ISIS forces reached the outskirts of that city. So he and the Iraqi commander, who was also murdered by the Americans, Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, they were the two of the key figures that saved Iraq and pushed ISIS back.
Let me ask you.
I believe that if it wasn't for him, the capitals of Iraq and Syria would have been held.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a second question that we're hearing here in the United States. Earlier today, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo came out and essentially said that the only reason we did this was to avert an imminent attack against the United States by your country. Although when he was asked to be specific, he had no specifics. What's your reaction to that?
And they never will have any specifics because that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is to not have specifics. The point is to not have evidence. The point is to have you believe us regardless of what happens or what's going on. Believe us. Believe what we say. That's how they are. You know what I'm saying? That's how they truly are. And well, that's what happened with the Native Americans, wasn't it? They believed what they said, right? They believed their treaties. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to touch on that later on. Because Rick Sanchez does basically a final warning at the end, of what's going to take place. And I'm gonna get another scripture at that, at that time when it comes through. But there's never any evidence when they make accusations. When they wanna paint you as a terrorist, they're gonna paint you as a terrorist. Like look at what they're doing with these so-called shootings over in Jersey City or whatever, and so they got plenty of fuel to fire at us, saying that we're a terrorist group, that the Hebrew Israelites are a terrorist group. No, we're not. No, we're not. They've known for decades that we don't harm people. We don't go out and kill people. No, that's not our. That's not what we do. What we do is we teach the people, and we warn the people, and we tell your people, you Edomites and all you other nations out there, that you're going to pay for what happened the moment Yahawah shows up. Let me get this. Let me get another scripture real quick. What's on my mind? This is Psalms chapter 58, verse 2. Yeah, in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. Look at all these countries that's been overthrown by America. Excuse me. Look at all these countries that's been overthrown by America. That's a lot of violence in their hands. Verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. And that's how this is, man. That's how this is. And this professor over in Tehran is going to explain, like, this is a complete contrast to what America's saying, what Pompeo's saying. This man full of pomp and pompous and pride. You know what I'm saying? He's perfect for his job, isn't he? Let's hear this, man.
Well, first of all, the United States government behaves with arrogance. They are judge, jury, and prosecutor, on the one hand. Second of all, Pompeo himself just a few months ago said that when in the CIA, we were taught to lie, to cheat, and to steal. And that's what the United States in the first place. They fabricated intelligence about weapons of mass destruction and cooperation between Iraq and Al-Qaeda, and justified their war and their destruction of the country.
And on that note, that brought me back to one of the interviews that one of the commanders in the British Army that was doing the joint operation with America in Iraq was talking about. I forgot what the name was. What the name of that man was. In the interview, he was explaining how where they were searching for weeks and weeks and weeks for weapons of mass destruction, and one of the intelligence told them that it was over in this mountain. Okay, well, they went over to this mountain, and there were no weapons in there. There was no weapons. It was just cargo. It was just like what minor things. What a couple AK-47s. You know what I'm saying? But that's it. No weapons of mass destruction. And then the intelligence agency sent them over to this mountain and then to that mountain, and it was like a wild goose chase. You know, if any one of you brothers or sisters have played Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the first one, this interviewee is basically he looks like Captain Price, right? But he's explaining how the ISS was given false information. There was never any weapons over there. What did America do? They lied their way into that war. And I'm gonna show you a general. I think his name is Wesley. General Wesley. I think it's Wesley Carver, but he's gonna show you. He's gonna explain to you how they had this all in the works for a long time. You know what I'm saying?
But also, in addition to that, when the Americans wanted to strike the Iraqi target a couple of days ago, and they wanted to kill the 30 young men who were on the Syrian border fighting ISIS. The American Secretary of Defense called the Iraqi Prime Minister. The Prime Minister told him not to carry out the attacks. He was ignored, but also the Prime Minister told him to provide the Iraqis with the intelligence that they have, and he refused. Why? Well, part of it is arrogance, and part of it is that there was no intelligence. So the United States, whenever they need to justify something, the government, they'll say something, and the media will mimic whatever the State Department, the White House, or the Pentagon says.
Final question to you. Final question to you regarding the situation right now there in Iran. We have been seeing pictures. In fact, I don't know if Peter, we might be able to put some of those videos up of these crowds that have been amassing around Tehran today, apparently in mourning for the general's death. The question is this, do you believe, going to unify Iran? Especially based on the fact that last time I talked to you, we were talking about the fact that people in Iran were essentially angry because of the economy there, and now they're having protests against the United States.
Well, the Iranians were very angry, and I think they continue to be angry with the administration.
Now listen what they're saying. They're saying that the Iranians are very angry at this. They're very pissed off at this. While the American media is saying that the Iranians are praising this, that the Iranians are happy about this. You know, these aren't tears of pain. These are tears of joy. No, these aren't. Like, who says that? You know what I'm saying? Who says that bullshit? There is no such thing. These jokers are mourning this man. And you gotta think about how wicked this people is, how wicked these people are. You gotta think about that. Because they assassinated this man when he was on his way to a funeral. When he was on his way to a funeral to mourn the death of his colleagues, to mourn the death of his fellow servicemen who were killed by the United States in Iraq. He was going to their funerals so that he could mourn them, and that was when they did the airstrike with the drone and killed him. Now in the media they'll tell you, oh well, he was doing this covertly. He was going to plan some retaliations. He was going to plan an attack on American soil and stuff like that. No, man. No, he wasn't doing nothing covertly. He took a commercial freaking plane. A commercial plane. This is a general. He took a commercial plane to go to a funeral. Commercial. Ain't nothing covert about none of that. This is a commercial plane where everybody can see him. Everybody knows who he is. He ain't hiding nothing. And they killed him, the entire convoy, right at the airport. Which shows you that they don't care about civilians. They killed a couple civilians in the mess as well. Oh well, that's just collateral damage. The whole world is looking at what America truly is. The whole world is seeing this great whore that sits on many waters. The world is seeing her and is angry. Let me get that scripture real quick. Because you got to get the scriptures, baby. Because y'all jokers is all up in the scriptures. Y'all all up in the scriptures. But now Esau wants to run away from the scriptures. Nah. Let's not talk about this. Let's not talk about that. No, because now you realize that you're in the scriptures, but you're not what you thought you were in the scriptures. No, you are the devil. You are the seed of the serpent, the seed of the devil. Y'all in this scripture. This is Revelation chapter 11, verse 18. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants, the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. What was the last scripture talking about? Their hands are violent. There's violence in their hands in the earth. Who else fulfills the scripture? Who else fulfills this? That's why they don't want to talk about the scriptures no more. That's why they don't want to deal with the scriptures. Said, no, let's not talk about that, man. Nah, bro. Nah. Your sins are being made bare. Everybody is seeing you for who you are. And that's why this is the final act. The final act is where the villain is exposed. The true villain is exposed. We in them last hours, man.
Administration, because of their the way in which they increase the price of fuel. But General Soleimani has always been a very popular figure in Iran throughout this period, and even Western polls admit that. But it has united the country, and there are crowds and gatherings across the country, and I think the funeral the day after tomorrow will be enormous. But also, tomorrow there will be a funeral in Iraq, and his body will be taken to a couple of the cities in the south of Iraq. And it's predicted that there will be huge crowds in Iraq, both for him and for Abdul Mahdi al-Muhandis, the Iraqi commander that the Americans assassinated. And in fact, the Americans carried out an act of war on both Iraq and Iran.
Let's not ignore that. This is an act of war because not only are these people illegally over there occupying Iraq, but they're carrying out military behaviors over there, killing people. That is an act of war. That is an act of war. And so this man's body is going to be honored. They're going to honor him in Iran. So they're going to honor him in Iran, and then they're going to honor him in Iraq. So they're going to take his body from Iran and take it over to Iraq, where they can salute his body, and give him a proper burial. This is why this is the border of wickedness, because you're supposed to even respect your enemies. You killed this man when he was on his way to a freaking funeral. A freaking funeral, man. To mourn his colleagues. Are you kidding me right now? This is why y'all the border of wickedness. In the scriptures, we're supposed to respect our enemies. We even respect our enemies. Case in point, when Jehu trampled down Jezebel, the queen, and killed Ahab, the king. What did he do? He buried her with her fathers because she was still the daughter of a king. And they buried Ahab because he was a king. They buried all of them, but they buried Ahab among the kings because he was a king. You're still supposed to respect your enemies. You're still supposed to respect them. When we went against the Canaanites, you know what I'm saying? We still respected them. If there were other Canaanites that came to mourn those that we defeated, hell, even if we had spoils of war, and there was a damsel among our enemies that let's say I saw a damsel among my enemies, but I wanted to marry her. I still gave her 3 months. I would still have to give her 3 months so she could go to her family and be among them for 3 months before she comes to be my wife. You see what I'm saying? You still have to honor your enemies. You still gotta do right by them. American, listen, Esau don't know how to do that. Esau don't know how to honor nothing. They like to parade in front of everybody and say we're honorable and we're moral and all that garbage. No, that's not the case.
But I think that when the people see the crowds tomorrow, they'll discover that the narrative created by the United States, the Saudis, and the Emiratis, that the Iraqi people hate Iran, I think that narrative will become will suffer a great deal, and they will see how Iraqis feel about General Soleimani and his role in saving their country.
Mohammed Marandi, Professor, our thanks to you, sir, for taking time to share your perspective there from Tehran. Thank you, sir. We're going to be joined now by our panel. This whole notion that suddenly what the United States has done may actually be a unifying factor for the people of Iran is one that we probably should take a good look at. Scott Ritter, I'm going to bring you in for this. Do you think as you like to say in your field, the blowback or the backfire here will be the fact that we're actually going to coalesce some forces in that region, specifically inside Iran and maybe beyond its borders as well?
Well, first of all, let's be straight. There was never a problem inside Iran. Not one worthy of mentioning in this context. The Iranian government is firmly in charge. There is some discontent about the economy, but it never rose to the level that threatened the viability of the Iranian government. So the notion that the death of General Soleimani is somehow going to coalesce the Iranian government is ludicrous. They were already coalesced. They already were unified in their position against the American posture in the Middle East. The real danger here is that the United States probably tipped the balance in the Iraqi parliament to vote for legislation that kicks the Americans out of Iraq. Now, this has been a long time goal of the Iranian government to get the United States military out of Iraq, and thanks to President Trump, we probably just facilitated that happening. The Iraqi government is very angry. The Iraqi parliament is poised to make a vote, and that vote will probably be for America to leave Iraq.
Let's go to Jim Jatras.
Now think about what that man just said. Parliament vote over in Iraq. Now, mind you, they just told America politely to leave so far. They just told them politely to leave. Thank you for your help. No more Saddam Hussein. That's great. But you guys have been here for has it been 12 years now? Yeah, you can leave now, please. And then the moment they said that, all of a sudden there's protests in Iraq all over the place about the economy or something. No, man, no. Oh, you want to get rid of us? You want to get rid of us? Okay, we'll start a coup over in your country, the same way we do over where Venezuela and Bolivia and all these other places, Iran. Yeah. But now there's actually going to be a vote in Iraq saying, listen, we asked you kindly before. Now we're going to get you out of here. Because it's recognized throughout the United Nations that that America is in there illegally. The same way they're in Damascus right now, also known as Syria. They're in there illegally. And the true purpose of why they're in there has just come to the surface. It's always been about the oil. But anyone who's known about this, who's known their modus operandi, already knew what this purpose was from the beginning. They was always over there for oil. They always wanted to destabilize this country. Don't nobody know about Assad. Don't nobody give a damn about Assad. Who's he? Where's he come? Oh, he's killing these people. Well, that ain't my business. It should be your business because this is democracy. No, man. No. Let them handle what they handling. Now we understand what y'all was in there to begin with. What y'all was in there for to begin with. It was about the oil, because if y'all actually cared about people's lives, there's this one dude. There's this one dude who saw this general's family mourning him after the assassination. They saw this general's family mourning him, and he said that brings a smile to my face. You know how wicked a person has to be to say something like that. To say something like that. His family's mourning him. No, man, no, that's a wicked person, and that's how they all are. They're wicked. They're wicked. They're evil, and they got to be stopped.
Former State Department diplomat here. That's an interesting point that he made. You want to follow up on that?
Yeah, the first question, I think Scott is exactly right, and the next question occurs to me is, when they do vote for us to leave Iraq, will we actually leave? Or will we insist on staying, and basically it would be a resumed occupation role without even the fig leaf of having the permission of the host government to have our forces there. I was listening on some of the other standard networks where congressmen were being asked about this, and they were giving a kind of, that sort of remains to be seen, whether we would actually leave if they vote us out.
Let's talk about what this actually was. Few people are actually using the word, but I think some are. An assassination, a hit. Is this our new foreign policy? Max Blumenthal?
This reminds me distinctly of Israel's mode of operation, particularly in the Gaza Strip. It reminds me of what they've done since the Second Intifada, when they dropped a 2,000-pound bomb on a civilian apartment block to kill Salah Shahada, then the commander of the Al-Qassam brigades, the armed wing of Hamas. But they're not dealing with a local militant group like Al-Qassam or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. They're dealing with a regional power, and Iran is going to do something to demonstrate just that back to the U.S. I don't think that Donald Trump realizes what he's just done.
Michelle Greenstein, you've been working on the reaction that we're seeing from all over the world. What is the reaction from some of the big countries, Russia, China, different countries all over the world, Middle East?
The international reaction is pretty much what you'd expect. We have Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif calling this an act of international terrorism and also an extremely dangerous and foolish escalation. We also have the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ali Khamenei, warning that this is going to result in severe revenge from the Iranian side. Now, let's talk about the Iraqi reaction, because after all this happened on Iraqi soil, we have the Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi saying that this might spark a devastating war, which I would say is pretty significant because, of course, we're talking about a post-2003 Iraqi administration. Now, in terms of the broader global community, we have both the Chinese and Russian foreign ministries warning not to increase tensions, saying that all parties should exercise restraint. But let's also talk about the Israeli reaction, because we also had Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who actually spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just hours before the assassination, praised the strike and claiming that it was an act of self-defense. Take a listen.
Just as Israel has the right of...
Hold up. Hold up. Did you hear that? Let me take that back a little bit. Did y'all hear that?
Ministries warning not to increase tensions, saying that all parties should exercise restraint. But let's also talk about the Israeli reaction, because we also had Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who actually spoke with U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just hours before the assassination, praised the strike and claiming that it was an act of self-defense. Take a listen.
Dude, hold up. You're telling me that this man spoke to the Secretary of Defense hours before they even struck this man down, praising the attack? That's the key factor, y'all. All right, so that's the key factor. Israel praised Pompeo hours before this attack. So that's telling you that this was planned. The question is, who stands to benefit the most from this unstable Iran? Who stands to benefit the most from this? And that's the question.
Just as Israel has the right of self-defense, the United States has exactly the same right. Qasem Soleimani is responsible for the death of American citizens and many other innocent people. He was planning more such attacks. President Trump deserves all the credit for acting swiftly, forcefully, decisively.
So you have
Bullshit.
Israel kind of towing the
It's bullshit. Prove all of that. None of this is proven. They don't ever prove any of that stuff. Especially not no Khazar, who's been lying ever since. There's no proof behind any of that. He killed hundreds and hundreds of people. He killed thousands. Now it's thousands of people. No, man. No. Show me the evidence of that. Show me the evidence of him killing innocent people. That's so full of crap. That's so full of crap. This was discussed hours before these jokers ever took him out. So if this was discussed hours before that, it means that this was planned in advance. So what does that mean? Does that mean that you killed these colleagues of his in the intention of luring him towards the funeral so that you could take him out? How wicked is that? How sick is that?
Washington line, which was that this is an act of self-defense. But then you had the
Or is it
United...
vice versa?
Right, I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? But then you also have the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Extrajudicial Killings calling that claim into question. Take a listen.
Okay.
Under international law, self-defense to be lawful will need to be invoked in situations where there is an imminent attack against the interest or the territory, in this case of the United States. At this point in time, the United States has not thus far provided any information suggesting that there was an imminent attack.
Now, there's just one more reaction, if you want to call it, that I want to take a look at, and that's of the major U.S. weapons contractors. We had companies like Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, all seeing their stock, interestingly enough, take a rise after this assassination.
That's interesting.
Yo, you see those numbers? Yo, man, that's crazy. Their stocks shot through the roof. Now you see what's going on. Now we see what's going on. What's this really about? Someone's making money. Someone's making money. And so, and this brings me to there's a good movie that one of my favorite movies is called Shooter. It's a movie with what's his name? Mark Wahlberg. And he plays the role of a master marksman who was caught up in a conspiracy, essentially. Now, there was something very profound at the very end of the movie, said by a senator, the senator who was basically the mastermind behind all this. That went down over in, I think it was South Africa or something like that. But he said there's no side, boy. Because the man said, the brother said, what side are you on? The FBI agent, he said, what side are you on? He said, there's no side, son. There's no Sunnis and Shiites. There's no Democrats or Republicans. There's only haves and have-nots. You know what I'm saying? And that is directly reflected in what you're looking at right now. That's directly reflecting what you're seeing right now on this screen. You got Raytheon, you got Lockheed Martin, you got Northrop Grumman. Who else you got? You're going to have all these defense contractors banking off this. And they all have lobbyists. Which means you've got senators over in the Capitol Hill senators and and representatives, both Democrats and Republicans. Remember, there's no Democrats and Republicans, no Sunnis, no Shiites. Understand this. When you listen to all these Republicans, they're all praising Donald Trump. When you look at all these Democrats, they're pretending to be against Donald Trump on this issue. They're pretending that. Why? Listen to their language. They'll say, "Well, General Soleimani, he was a terrible guy. He was a terrorist. He was this. He was that. But this was the wrong way to go about it. But this was no, man. No, you are step into it. You know what I'm saying? You're locked in step with all this stuff. You know, marching to the same tune. There's no difference. There's no difference. Because if you look at where the money's flowing, it's flowing to both of these parties. It's flowing to the Democrats and the Republicans to make sure that they vote in favor. What you have is a fake. You have a fake form of resistance, I should say. You know what I'm saying? So the Democrats have to play their role of pretending to be against war, when in actual fact they all vote the same way. They all vote for war. How else would a $1 trillion bill? How else would a $1 trillion budget make its way to the Pentagon by the Congress? How else would that happen? It had to be approved. And both sides was in on it. Why do they always vote unanimously? Why? When it comes to the Pentagon, when it comes to the defense budget, why? Someone is making money. Someone's getting them ducats.
In fact, let's do this. Let's bring in Christy I. She's our financial expert here at RT America, and we use her a lot on the Rick Sanchez show. You always have to ask yourself in these situations, right? Who stands to gain? Who stands to gain?
Exactly, and I'm so happy you brought that up, because let's take a look at this heat map that we have here showing what the state of the current U.S. equities market looks like in the past 24 hours. So if you look at it, global equities dropped around the world, and you see this is like a sea of red with most of the majors such as tech and healthcare all falling. But the big points of standout green are obviously on oil, energy, and utilities, consumer staples, which is a very safe stock, and that light green up on the upper right-hand corner, which is all defense stock. Defense, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, all the defense contractors as well as manufacturers who are benefiting from this.
That's amazing. It's almost like you can almost predict the pattern immediately after you saw this. Right?
Exactly, and this shows that there's a tremendous risk-off movement in the market, because remember, this is only the second trading day of 2020. So most of the portfolio managers, they positioned yesterday in preparing for this enormous trading rally that they've been all running into, only to have the entire global equities market fall out from under them. So now you see a massive repositioning, and they're all moving into safety assets and currencies such as the Swiss franc, the Japanese yen, the Hong Kong dollar, as well as cryptocurrencies, which are all up over 5 and 10%.
Scott Ritter, Max Blumenthal, you guys write and think about this all the time. What are you thinking when you see suddenly people are becoming multimillionaires overnight as a result of this? Max, why don't you get started, then we'll go to Scott.
I actually don't see a lot of strategic advantage here from a national security perspective. What we're looking at here is an extreme wing of the national security state, which has aligned itself tightly with the axis of extremism represented by Israel, particularly its Likud party and Netanyahu, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. And this axis is extremely upset that Qasem Soleimani managed to mobilize the Hashd al-Shabi, the popular mobilization units, and destroy ISIS, which was in many ways a proxy force that supported their interests of
Listen to this man. Listen to what he just said. He said the Likud party in Israel. He said all these contractors who's been involved. Why were they upset with General Soleimani? Why were they upset with him? Why were they angry at this man? because he was actually destroying these ISIS extremists. He was actually fighting fighting the forces that they put in place. That they put in place. He was actually destroying them and stopping their movements and stopping their advance. Well, that doesn't help these people, does it? That doesn't help these jokers getting, who's benefiting from all this chaos. That doesn't help them, does it? Let's get him out of the way. Let's get him out of the way. That is the key. That's the point. That's the point. It's the true reason behind this swift assassination, man. You know what I'm saying? General Soleimani was diligent, and he was effective in stopping their progressions. And as a result, he was hindering the progress, or the plans of the United States and Israel, and the many defense contractors. That's why everybody's coming against America. That's why everyone's going to come against America and Israel, because they see that they are truly trying to tear this world and bring it upside down. You know what I'm saying? And that's why Hitler said what he said. That with his death, it will spark World War III, because the whole world will know that America is the puppet of Israel, and Israel is the puppet master that's pulling all these strings, and that they both have got to go.
Stabilizing the Middle East using Wahhabi, Salafi, jihadi proxies. And so this is in many ways revenge, but it's also imperial hubris, because Soleimani not only is one of the most popular figures in Iran, people are in the streets crying because he's been killed. This is seen as an attack on all Shia people in the Middle East, and the U.S. doesn't know. I don't think they understand what they have just triggered.
Scott Ritter, I want to bring you in on this conversation. What are you thinking about this hit? How would you describe it to the American people so they can better understand it?
An absolute, unmitigated disaster of a scale of which they are unable to comprehend at this point in time, because right now we don't see a cost. I mean, we're used to this. We're used to seeing American forces deployed to the Middle East. We're used to seeing American drones take out high-value targets. But what we've never done is felt the price, is paid the consequences. And, the other thing is we have everybody standing by for an immediate attack. That isn't going to happen. The Iranians are far smarter than this. The last thing they want is a toe-to-toe fight. This is going to be a long, drawn-out strategic defeat of the United States in the Middle East, beginning in Iraq.
He's gonna tell you. The joke is telling you that this ain't gonna go. This ain't gonna go the way y'all had it go down in Iraq. It's not gonna be like that. It's not gonna be like that. Your soldiers ain't gonna have their way. The way they had it in Afghanistan and Iraq and Pakistan. No, it's not going to go down like that. It's not going to go down like that. Why do you think that it took all this time for them to actually make a move on Iran the way they have? You know what I'm saying? It's because of Russia. Russia has been standing strong and standing firmly behind Iran. And not just Russia, but China. China is also backing Iran. You got the two biggest powerhouses in the world backing up Iran. Why else do you think this took place? Or why else do you think that it took so long for this to happen? You know what I'm saying? And they showed what happened with the drone last year. Last year when this took place. What was it? I think it was in March. It was either March or April or something like that. But it was It was early in the year last year, and we was basically on the edge of war with them just off that. You know what I'm saying? Just off that, where the drone was in their airspace and they shot it down, and then Trump was like, "Oh, I got my hand on the button." You know what I'm saying? And 10 minutes before he pushed the button, he said, "Oh no, let me not do that." No, man. You know what I'm saying? This is not gonna go down the way they expected it. It's not gonna go down the way they think it's gonna happen. The way they're used to things happening. They're used to things going in their direction. You know what I'm saying? And they're used to everyone believing their narrative. But nobody believes America anymore. Nobody trusts America anymore.
Going into Syria, and we're going to see a retrograde of American power and influence in the region like we haven't ever seen before. It's a defeat of enormous proportions, and there will be economic consequences, geopolitical consequences, and this is probably the least thought out military action undertaken by an American president in my...
He said, he said, he said this was the least thought out military action because it's going to affect the economy. It's going to affect the geographic locations. It's going to affect every aspect of things. Now you going to wake up one day and you're going to see gas prices $5 a gallon, $8 a gallon. You're going to see that. You're going to wake up one day and you're going to see this these products are overpriced where you can't even afford them. Like you don't realize that this is going to affect every aspect of society based off this escalation. You know what I'm saying? Because Saudi Arabia, they only have but so much oil. They only have but so much oil. The grand prize is Iran. That's why they fight so fervently to get Iran under their control, because they need that vast wealth of oil. Because the dollar is destroyed. The dollar is nothing. The only thing that they can rely on now is the petrodollar, meaning the dollar's worth in terms of oil export. You know what I'm saying? But that's not even going down well because everyone is ditching the dollar, and everyone is going to Iran in different means, so that way they can go around sanctions and such and so forth. You know what I'm saying? And this is how America has caused so many issues around the world. This is how America has made so many enemies.
Modern history.
Could this thing lead to war, and if it does, do we win? Jim Chatras.
In terms of inflicting a lot of damage on the Iranians, yes, of course we could win in that sense. Will we achieve any strategic objectives? I don't think so, and I don't think we understand.
I mean a war. I mean a mano a mano. Our troops, their troops. Can we win that war?
We can win.
If we go against their troops, directly, then there's a possibility that we can win. Oh, excuse me. When I say we, I'm talking about Americans. I don't mean none of me, none of my people or nothing like that. I'm talking about these filthy heathens when they jump up in there, and them 2/3 that wanna join the military, they jump up in there and they fight these Persians. You know what I'm saying? It might go down well. It might go down well enough. You know what I'm saying? But how will that work? You see what I'm saying? How will that work? Because American troops are too far spread. Remember, there's over 800 bases around the world. Over 800 bases. So that's a military that's far spread already. So what are you going to do? Are you going to take all those military personnel from these multiple bases, these hundreds of bases, and focus it on Iran? You see what I'm saying? What are you going to do? You're going to draft everybody in the home front? And, you know, and majority of people that you drafting do not want to go to war, period. So that's an automatic drop in morale at, you know, right at the door. Nobody's going to put their all in you know, behind that barrel because they don't believe in your cause for going to war in the first damn place. So what do you expect? Will we win? Will Americans win? Will Babylon win? No. No. What does the scriptures say, damn it? Let's go to the scriptures. Got to get the scriptures because nobody want to deal with the scriptures, baby. Nobody want to deal with these scriptures, man. But let's see what the Most High said was going to take place. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Chapter 15, verse 26. I'm going to start at 26. For Yahawah knoweth all them that sin against him, and therefore delivereth he them unto death and destruction. For now are the plagues come upon the whole earth, and ye shall remain in them. For Yahawah shall not deliver you, because ye have sinned against him. Behold, an horrible vision, and an appearance thereof from the east, where the nations of the dragons of Arabia shall come out with many chariots, and the multitude of them shall be carried as the wind upon the earth, that all they which hear them may fear and tremble. Also the Carmanians, raging in wrath, shall go forth as the wild boars of the woods, and with great power shall they come, and join into battle with them, and shall waste a portion of the land of the Assyrians. And then shall the dragons have the upper hand. And then shall the dragons of Arabia have the upper hand, remembering their nature. These Arabs, these Persians, they're going to remember their nature. Allahu Akbar. They're going to remember their nature as that wild man. And if they shall turn themselves, conspiring together in great power to persecute them. Can we win a war? Go mano y mano? Step to step, toe to toe? I don't think so. Not according to prophecy, bro. Not according to the scriptures, man. Y'all ain't going nowhere. America ain't going to win shit. America's going to get torn to pieces. Why? Because they are backed. They are backed up by the powerhouses of the East, Russia and China. You see, these jokers are full of pride. They are full of pride. They can't stop. They can't stop being prideful, man. It's just, they got this extreme gene where they just think they're invincible. I got to get the scriptures, man. I got to get the scriptures, baby, because they just don't know. They just don't know. I got to help them. You got to help them, man, because they're just so dumb. They're just so dumb. Oh, we're gonna win. We're going to fight. We're going to take some. We're going to win. No, man, y'all ain't winning nothing. Y'all ain't winning nothing. Let me get this. Let me get a scripture right here. I think I'm gonna get Habakkuk. Habakkuk chapter 2 verse 4, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yeah, also, because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man. He is a proud man. These Edomites are proud people. Neither keeping at home. They don't want to deal with what's going on in America. No, they got to deal with what's going on in everybody else's country. Because America is the greatest country in the world. All this bull. Neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. Something crazy coming for America, baby.
And in a sense, we can inflict a lot of damage on the Iranians. Can we achieve anything where we actually have some objective that we've met? I don't think so.
Scott, do you quickly, Scott, before I go, because we have a special guest standing by, what would your answer to that question be if somebody asked you, could we win a war against Iran?
Look, the new Marine Corps Commandant answered that question when he put out his mission statement. He said, we can no longer count on maritime amphibious forces being able to close with an enemy shore and debarking troops because they have standoff weapons that will sink our ships before they get close. The Iranians have those standoff weapons. This will, if we go to war, yeah, we'll inflict damage, but guess what? They will too.
Joining us now, the president of the Ron Paul Institute and the Liberty Institute, none other than Ron Paul himself. The congressman is good enough to join us on this day on a subject that's certainly near and dear to his heart. Congressman, your son, Rand Paul, today has been screaming as loud as he possibly can about this being an unconstitutional act on the part of the White House. What say you?
What's new? That's been going on for a long time. I would say that our foreign policy's been based on unconstitutionality, especially since World War II. How about 1953 when we sent our CIA in to start all this mess in Iran? So no, it's unmitigated, it's horrible, they don't care, and it's very bipartisan, and it's very much motivated by money in the military-industrial complex. So it's a mess, but this is a conclusion that should surprise no one. I'm working on the assumption that our country is totally financially bankrupt, morally bankrupt, and that our empire is shrinking. And I think this is another sign that we're losing credibility. And I think the best thing that could happen in the immediate future is for Iraq to take a stronger stand and say, get out, we're tired of you. You've saved us from Saddam Hussein, but we don't need more saving us. So I think they need to pass up and say, get out, and get the public pressure on in the world pressure to say, well, they have a right to it, because certainly our agreement to be there didn't authorize us to take the law into our own hand and start shooting and killing and shooting diplomats that are just coming into the country that had a right to, and they didn't cause a threat. This whole idea that we, the United States, had to do this to save American lives, I feel less safe when we do these kind of things. And there's a lot of Americans died since
Dr. Paul, I just got to ask you, do you think this is an act of war, as some have been asserting, while others say, well, the guy wasn't in Iran, what was he doing in Iraq in the first place?
Well, I guess you have to worry about semantics about war. Yeah, it's a war. You can have a cyber war. You can have all kinds of wars. But we've been warring with Iran for a long, long time. But is it World War II with the tanks rolling in? No, I don't think so. But there's going to be a lot of people suffering. I've been arguing that sanctions are an act of war. And has Iran suffered from sanctions? Yes. But it built up a backbone for it. It didn't undermine their government. So sanctions are an act of war, and we participated in it all the time. And I think that's where it starts. It's interventionism is immoral and unconstitutional, and it is a war of sorts. But I don't see it as a war like World War II.
Dr. Ron as usual. Thanks, sir, for taking time to share your perspective on this with us today. Let's do this. I want to go around the panel real quick and ask you a question. How many people here, raise your hand, if you believe that the United States was about to be attacked, and because of that imminent attack, we had to take this guy out? Because that's what our government is saying. Raise your hand. Nobody. Scott, you don't believe that either, I imagine, right?
Not at all.
Second question. How many people here believe that this guy was a dangerous terrorist? That he was a dangerous terrorist? Raise your hand. Is he a dangerous terrorist? Because that's the other thing that we're being told. No? Scott, was he a dangerous terrorist?
No, he was an effective combatant.
So the question then is, as all of us watch the media today, I've been watching Fox News and MSNBC and CNN and, reading some of the New York Times. That's the prevailing story that's being told to the American people. How troubled should we be by that?
Extremely troubled, because it's like you're supposed to trust the media, and this is just like they're exaggerating the truth. It's not even a truth, essentially. They're creating this fear amongst us, and they're creating it so that we fear the Middle East. And it's like this entire thing that we shouldn't even believe in.
It's contextual, isn't it?
It is contextual, and the thing is, this is something that we should be afraid of, because the United States government has profited from war every single time they started a war. The stock market has gone on a tremendous rally every single time there has been a war in previous history.
Good point. Go ahead.
I've noticed on all these channels, one of the things they're putting on Soleimani's account is saying he was propping up the Assad regime in Syria. He's got the blood of hundreds of thousands of people on his hands. By that reckoning, and the fact that he's a high state official in a government that we're not at war with, we've crossed a Rubicon, not only in Tehran, but in Moscow, Beijing, Pyongyang, Caracas. Do they all have to sit there and say to themselves, all right, do the Americans now feel entitled to kill anybody in our government because of what disagreements over Syria or whatever else?
Michelle.
Well, I think the main thing we need to focus on is something that Max touched on, which is why is this such a strategically bad move? Because he was so popular. Why was he so popular? Because of his key role in fighting against ISIS. We have to understand that in these Iranian cities from
in ISIS, the very people that they claim, that America claim they're fighting. You're going to kill the guy who was actually destroying your enemies. The people you're claiming you're fighting.
to Tabriz, the streets are literally filled right now. Popular. Why was he so popular? Because of his key role in fighting against ISIS. We have to understand that in these Iranian cities, from Kerman to Tabriz, the streets are literally filled right now with people mourning the death of this general, and we have protests in cities elsewhere, like in Islamabad or in Kashmir, where they're actually burning American flags because this man was a chief general in the fight against ISIS. So to Iranian people, to people worldwide, he was a national hero. He achieved sort of a celebrity status because of his role against ISIS, and not only did he survive many assassination attempts, by Western governments, Arab governments, Israeli governments, making him famous. Sure.
Let's suppose he was a bad guy. Let's suppose he was. There are bad guys all over the world, by the way. There's a lot of people who are bad guys. Yeah. Even if he was a bad guy, as we say other people are in places like Venezuela and Uruguay and wherever, right?
That guy only depends on which side you're on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Does that give us the right to assassinate?
Let's consider that Qasem Soleimani and Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis worked hand in glove with the United States, first against the Taliban, a mutual enemy, and then against ISIS, losing something like 30,000 men, common Shia people, who went and followed the fatwa of Ayatollah Sistani to fight and defeat this existential threat to their existence in Mosul. They worked with the United States. This is a person who commanded people who in many ways have protected the national security of the United States against ISIS, and the U.S. continues to support ISIS alongside its Israeli and Gulf allies. A perfect example of that is, where was Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the founder of ISIS, killed? In Idlib, which Donald Trump is protecting from Syria and Russia right now.
Here's a question a lot of people are wondering about too. They've been reaching out to us today. Bill Clinton in, what was that, 98, right? The wag the dog when he attacked the Balkans. In the middle of his impeachment. Some people are wondering if the same thing is going on now with Donald Trump, if he needs this politically. Scott, let me have you tackle that one first.
I don't believe so. I don't think that I don't think impeachment has anything to do with what transpired. The issues with Iran predate the articles of impeachment. As John Bolton indicated, the decision to take out Qasem Soleimani was made, a while back. They just pick this moment in time to pull the trigger because he was a target of opportunity. This is about bad policy, not about a president reacting to pressures of impeachment.
We have to
the president knows he's not going to be removed from the Senate.
We have to ask the question before we end this show of what we think might happen next. What will Tehran's response be? Anybody want to tackle that? What do we think there is? It going to be blatant or is it going to be more opaque?
The key word is going to be asymmetrical. It'll be something that it's not a direct response to what we did. It'll be harder to pin on them. And meanwhile, picking up on that question, I think Trump is now, I think this is the final end of his having any real agency as the head of this government. He is now completely controlled by the
subjugated to these
deep
guys.
state, the neocons, the Borg, whatever you want to call it.
Go ahead, Max.
Qasem Soleimani cut his teeth in the Iran-Iraq war. He learned the lessons. He and now his successors, and he's been planning for his martyrdom and succession.
Right.
They do not want a conventional conflict like that. They understand these lessons. And again, as Scott said, it could take some time. There's going to be a lot of strategic patience.
What a great panel. Thanks so much to you, Max, to Scott Ritter, Christy I, Michelle, Jim Jatras. Thank you all. And there's one other thing that this attack illustrates, which may be a warning to other countries, and it is this, which we should mention before we go. Back in 2015, Iran agreed to dismantle its nuclear program. It trusted that by doing so, it would improve its relationship with the United States and other Western countries. Instead, at least from Iran's vantage point, it appears that by giving up their nuclear leverage, they have invited an attack, which is exactly what they got last night. What signal does that send to other countries now, like Saudi Arabia and North Korea, who may at some point consider signing a similar nuke deal? In short, has the prospect of peace and nuclear deterrence just been hindered by this attack? Good night.
Look, man. And this is the point that I wanted to make early in the video. You know, their first mistake, trusting this devil. That was their first mistake. That was Ishmael's first mistake, is trusting Esau. And that's the exact same thing that our brothers over here in America did. You know, so-called natives, the so-called Hispanics. What did they do? They opened their arms to Esau. They opened their arms to these Edomites. And they believed them. They believed their words. You know, they took their treaties, they signed their treaties, thinking that this was going to be goodwill, you know, that this was going to bridge gaps, it was going to cause friendships. You know what I'm saying? That's what Iran has done. Iran did this. They signed the what is it? The IAEA bill, the treaty that was co-signed by multiple countries around the world. You know, mind you, the only ones that jumped out of the JCPOA is America. They're the only ones that jumped out of that agreement that was signed, you know, by the rest of the world in the IAEA meeting. And that whole council is still trying to tell America, come back to the JCPOA agreement, come back to that signatory, right? You know, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And Iran had to learn this the hard way. You just don't trust them. You do not trust these people because they love to kill and they hate to have peace. They hate that. You can tell that with just how they hunt. You can tell that with how these Edomites love to hunt deer. They love to hunt elk. They love to hunt moose. Because the less harmful it is, the more drive they have to kill it. The less harmful it is, the more drive they have to kill it. And so think about this cunning hunter. It don't just stop with animals. This cunning hunter will hunt even if it's people, even if it's human beings. Remember that principle. The less harmful you are, the more drive Esau has to hunt it. And that's why they love to take away their prey's weapon. They're not warriors. They're predators. They pretend like they're warriors. Like, oh, we'll go toe to toe to you in honor and respect. No. Look at how they show quote unquote respect to their enemies. They don't even let them go to a funeral to mourn their colleagues. No. But you know what I remember hearing during the war in Iraq when I was younger? I remember hearing that there were Arabs who would cease fire when they saw American troops, specifically medics, who would go out on the field to retrieve the bodies. They would cease fire. That's a hell of a lot more honor and respect than you'll ever see from these Edomites. You see what I'm saying? This is Psalms chapter 55, verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. In the same way with the JCPOA, you broken your covenant. The same way with those treaties that you made with the Native Americans. You broken those covenants. The same way you told us that you would give us 40 acres and a mule. You broken your covenant. It just don't stop with these Edomites. Don't stop with these crackers. They just cannot stop. They have to keep killing. They have to keep breaking their promises. Verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. This is the book of Sirach. The book of Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed, and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. And that's the truth. That's the truth. This is why these heathens don't ever want to deal with the scriptures, man. They don't ever want to deal with these scriptures, because it exposes them. It exposes them. And you tell these heathen what's going to take place, what's going to happen. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. Because they're all asking the same question. Will we win if we go to war with them? Will we win? Because they're just a bunch of sand niggas. They're just a bunch of guys in sandals riding on camels. You know what I'm saying? Got long robes and turbans on their heads. They don't know nothing about combat. They're not. You see what I'm saying? That's the arrogance. That's the arrogance. And that's what's wrong with them. And that's going to be their downfall, like it said, as it's written in the book of Obadiah. Let me get it. Let me get that. I ain't going to butcher it. Like these heathen love to do to our scriptures. This is Obadiah chapter 1, verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? That's what y'all do. That's what y'all say inside. And now I'm gonna get y'all. I'm giving y'all this one interview by this general.
At NJM Insurance, we know that everyone's a little different. That's why we make sure you've got the right coverage to worry about.
So this is a speech by General Wesley Clark. By General Wesley Clark on the United States going to war.
Iraq, not Iran. I knew why, because I'd been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you gotta come in. You gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me." And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, "You remember that?" He said, "Sorry, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you."
I'm sorry.
Is it possible to retire rich
Alright. Let me grab a scripture. This is Jeremiah chapter 49, verse 15. It says, "For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen, and despised among men. Thy terribleness hath deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill. Though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, I will bring thee down from thence, saith Yahawah. And Edom shall be a desolation. Everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof. As in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah, and the neighbor cities thereof, saith Yahawah. No man shall abide there, neither shall a son of man dwell in it. Let these heathens know that playtime's over. Playtime's over. Your glory days of World War II and how we won and all that good stuff. No. Y'all ain't. There's no more honor. There's no more honor amongst y'all. No more honor. Nobody cares about you no more, Esau. Nobody cares about these Edomites. Nobody cares. If y'all perish today, tomorrow, no, nobody gives a fuck. Y'all forgive me for my language, man, but I gotta tell the truth. Don't nobody care about this damn nation. Don't nobody care about America. Don't nobody care about these Americans. And for y'all Negroes, y'all Hispanics and natives, y'all better separate from them. Y'all better separate. While y'all sitting around talking about the game, y'all sitting around talking. They got y'all looking at R. Kelly like nigga. He has been in jail for how long? He has been irrelevant for the last how many damn years? Every time something's about to happen around the world, they put some stupid Negro in front of y'all to distract you. They put some Negro in front of you to distract you. Say, look at this, and while y'all sitting here looking at this, they just assassinated this man over here, and y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all know about the game, though. Y'all know about Kardashian and them. Who gives a damn about Kardashians? Y'all can. My goodness. My goodness. This is Wisdom of Solomon. This book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 17. For though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. Or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. Don't nobody care about America no more. She used to be that shining pearl. She used to be the beacon of hope and you know the beacon of what is it? Oh, I can't even say it. I can't even say the words, man. Everything's just escaping me right now. But they used to be the best country in the world. They used to be the beacon of morality. Everybody used to look up to America. Not anymore. Not anymore. And this place is going to be overthrown real quick. Real soon. Real soon. They stay on this path. That's why I said, nah, man, y'all need to stay out of them voting booths. Y'all need to stay out of the military. Sit back, grab your popcorn, and watch this place burn. Watch this place go down, man. Stop trying to save it. Stop trying to save this place and acting like, oh, I'm a be this, I'm gonna be something good in America. No, man, no. It's like, oh, life is gonna be better. I'm gonna live my best life. Yo, man, y'all talking that talk. Y'all ain't a part of the elect, man, because y'all too stuck in this place. Y'all too stuck here. Y'all are stuck here, and y'all gonna die here. Ain't nothing coming. Ain't nothing coming this way. Ain't nothing coming this way. The moment America is crippled, the moment America is weak, that's when all these other nations is finna come at her. Bahashem Hamashiach Yahawah Shah. In the name of Yahawah Shah, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. As it is written. As it is written. By the mouth of the Most High Yahawah. This is going to come. This is going to go down. All praises and glory and honor goes to Yahawah, our power. In the name of his son, Yahawah Shah. And in the Ruach HaKodesh, which brings us wisdom. I want to say shalom to all y'all brothers out there pushing the truth of the gospel and the gospel of the kingdom and warning our people and reaching our people, waking up our people, trying to bring the elect back into the fold, trying to bid the people back to the marriage. Shalom to all y'all sisters out there that's holding true to the faith, that's remaining strong in the faith, that's holding fast and loving your husbands, protecting your children, submitting to your husband's rule, to your husband's rulership. And to all you children out there that's listening, you know what I'm saying, pay close attention to your parents, follow their lead as according to the scriptures. Let the body come together, because now is the time for us to keep diligent watch, because these prophecies are coming to pass. These prophecies are coming to pass. Though it tarry, you wait for it. For in the end, it shall speak, and it's not going to lie. Here we are. We're looking at this thing. It's going down, man. Stay strong in the faith. Continue to pray. pray without ceasing. Don't forget. And don't be so stuck up in what's going on in this world, man. Don't pay attention to Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff too much. That's why I stopped with Facebook. It's too much of a distraction. Stop being distracted out here, y'all. Stop being distracted. Pay attention. All praises, glory, and honor to the Most High, Yahawah, Bahashem, Yahawah Shai, Bahashem, Hawakodash. Shalom, y'all.